Welcome to the lecture videos on entering foreign markets. Now, these lecture videos are very similar to Chapter 13 in the Hill and Holt textbook, and that's intentional. So what I recommend that you do is that you first watch these lecture videos. I'm going to highlight some of the key points, and then if anything seems unfamiliar or doesn't make sense, or you want to read up on more depth on a particular topic, you can just go refer to Chapter 13 of the Hill and Holt textbook, and it will cover that particular topic in more detail. So let's get started. In this set of lecture videos, what I wanted to cover first, in fact, the first part, deals with the three basic decisions that every company needs to make before entering a foreign market: which markets to enter, when to enter, and the scale of entry. Now, in the second part of these lecture videos, I want to talk about the different modes of entry, how to decide on a mode of entry, and then this interesting question of acquisitions versus greenfield ventures, the pros and cons. So those will be the two lecture videos on entering foreign markets. Let's start with lecture video 1, three basic decisions. Now, this is basically what every company needs to do, and since all of you are doing a group project where you're assessing a specific company that has already entered a specific market, you can also assess, was this the right market for that company to enter? Did they enter at the right time? Did they enter with the right scale of entry? So these are some things that you can begin to ask of your specific company, the project you're doing, and assess whether this company did the right things, or if you would recommend they should have done things differently, right? So in the first part of these questions, the first question, basic entry decision question, is which foreign market? And so this I want to call your attention to. I mean, this is really something that each one of the group projects should address for your company. Is this company in the right market? Is this a good location to be in? And among the things that you can consider, and this is something that every company should consider, right, when it enters a market, does this country's market currently have the right political and economic stability for us to be there, right? Is there a chance that there could be a revolution or some other kind of problem, or could there be a financial crisis? And by the way, you already have the skills to make an assessment of whether a country is likely to have a financial crisis. You could use the Nelson model, which we've talked about elsewhere in this course. And so these are the kinds of things that I want you to do in the first part of your group project, right, as you're making that sort of assessment. Now, by the way, there are some very useful sources of information. I want to call your attention here to the bottom of the slide that you can use when you're doing research on your group project. For example, and by the way, I recommend that everyone watch the tutorial on how to use the databases that all of you have access to as ASU students, these excellent research databases. Alison Leeming-Maliki, our reference librarian here at Thunderbird, she made an excellent tutorial that I think everyone can use and see that it's very easy to use these databases. She gives very good, straightforward instructions on how to do it. And one of the best sources of information on political and economic stability in a country is the Economist Intelligence Unit Country Forecasts. Now, Alison Leeming-Maliki will give you some ways of how to find these. I just want to let you know, here's another way that you can find these. You can go to the database called ABI Inform, and you can enter into the search box in that database if you're looking for, let's say, information on Brazil or information on South Africa. You can enter in country forecast, period, Brazil, September 2019, or whatever month it is when you're looking for this information. And based on that, you should come up with some items that will show you that will be the Economist Intelligence Unit Country Forecast. And these forecasts really are extremely useful. They are updated every month. If you search for 1 month and you didn't find it, then search the previous month. They come out every month, and it's kind of unpredictable what date in the month they come out. But these provide detailed information about the current political and economic situation in pretty much every country in the world. And the Economist Intelligence Unit is part of the same organization that publishes The Economist magazine, the Financial Times newspaper. It's based in London, England. It is an excellent organization. And the kinds of people that they hire to produce these country forecasts are people that are living in the country, that are experts on what is happening, economists, political scientists, people that have expertise in what's going on. So if you're trying to assess, should our company even be in this country, one place to start is looking at the Economist Intelligence Unit, or as I call it, the EIU country forecast for that country. And that is relatively easy to find. Now, another thing that you should be assessing, and every company should assess, is the size of the market big enough for the product or service that we want to provide? And so this market size issue is a crucial question, right? If you're Nike going to China, you have a market with over 1 billion people, right? And if you're, looking at, Mercedes-Benz in the country of United Arab Emirates, right? The market might be considerably smaller because there could be fewer than 1 million people that actually have the wherewithal or the financial means to actually buy that sort of product, right? So the country could have 8 million people, but a large percentage of them could be expatriate citizens that are driving taxi cabs or something like that. So where would you find the information about the market size? I mean, it's easy to find, let's say, the population of the country, but how about the market size? Well, another good source I want to call your attention to is the country commercial guides. And so this is something you can find very easily just by going to Google and typing in country commercial guide Brazil, country commercial guide United States, or country commercial guide Mexico, for example. And these are fantastic, very useful sources of information. These are put together by the U.S. Department of Commerce, and they're specifically targeting information that might be of interest to U.S. companies that are considering entering these particular markets. But what they do is they have people, the U.S. Department of Commerce does, it has people all over the world. Many of them are actually graduates of Thunderbird who actually work in these countries. They are affiliated with the consulate or with the embassy in that country, and they go out and they gather information about the market trends, the size of the market, what are the competitors in that market, what would be the best prospects for entering in that market. So again, if you're assessing whether your company should even be in a particular market, one great source of information is the country commercial guide. So that's just a couple of great sources. Alison Leeming-Maleki in her tutorial that she provided for you provided some really great additional ideas about great sources of information. And I urge you to look through that and to start getting, to work very quickly as soon as you can on those projects. So, by the way, the country commercial guides would also be a good place to look for whether your product is a good strategic fit for that particular market, right? And so there are some other excellent databases. Euromonitor would be another. And Alison Leeming-Maleki in her tutorial would highlight all of these kinds of things, right? Growth prospects. Again, the EIU country forecasts are going to tell you, is this country's market even growing? What are the projections going forward for the next years? Do we anticipate a deep recession? Or would we expect this country's economy to be growing very quickly? So if you're trying to sell, let's say, a consumer product in a country, that kind of information would be very useful. Demographic factors, of course. Again, this might be able to tell you where most of the population is located. What are sort of the income levels of various segments of the population? So these are the kinds of things that would be extremely relevant when you're assessing, does it even make sense for a company to be in this country right now, let's say selling Nike shoes at this moment, right? Level of corruption. In a previous module, I talked about Transparency International and its Corruptions Perceptions Index. And so this is something, for example, if you're assessing whether our company should even be in this country at this moment, you could say, well, let's look up how this country scores on the Corruptions Perceptions Index, right? As if it's so corrupt, we might be wise to maybe avoid this country or maybe consider not even being here right now. So again, these are the kinds of things. Euromonitor and others will have information on competitors in that market. So all of these kinds of things, of course, would be the kind of thing that you're going to be doing in your group project. Now, the timing of the entry decision is another key factor. Now, some companies would say, we want to be the first mover. We want to be the very first company to enter a market providing a particular kind of product or service. And there are some real advantages to that. That can allow you to establish a strong brand name and get your name out there associated with a high quality product that all consumers then flock to before the competition. And it can also help you to build up sales volume in that country and move up the experience curve. Now, I talk about this in more depth in the lecture videos on global strategy. So you could refer to that, and that's in chapter 12 in the Hill and Holt textbook. So you could always look at that. But that is also a very important thing that you would want to take advantage of, and you could possibly benefit from as the first mover. Now, the ability to create switching cost is a crucial concept. And so what this concept says is that once you've entered a market and if you established this product there and consumers have begun buying this product or this service, once they've begun buying something, it could be very difficult for them to switch, right? And so it could be some kind of industrial product that you are selling in this market, and maybe that people have built machines or a whole manufacturing processes around using your particular component part or your particular product. Well, at that point, once they've done that, it's going to be very difficult for them. If a competitor comes along and says, well, we can sell it to you at lower cost, it might cost that company even more now to switch to that lower cost product because they've already manufactured everything around your component part. So this is the idea of switching costs. And so there could be a particular service that just the hassle for people to switch to another service, and there's a change fee, and So it could be that once you've got people hooked on your product, it could be very difficult or costly or just in terms of time consuming, just a hassle for them to switch. And so that's why there could be some big advantages to being the first mover. Now, on the other hand, there could be cost to being the first company into a particular market. You could make a lot of mistakes. You could find out a lot of things that you were going to have to learn the hard way just from practical experience being in there. That if you had held back and let others enter first, you could learn from their mistakes, right? And you could say, well, we're not going to do that, or they clearly showed that was a mistake. So that's one of the potential problems or costs with being the first one to enter a market, the pioneer. There are costs associated with that, pioneering costs. So there is this other issue of, you could be entering with a new kind of service that consumers in that country have never seen. And so it might take them a while. The first company to enter that market might have to kind of educate the customers, okay, this is why this could be useful, this is why this is a very valuable thing. And so that could take some time, and it could take a lot of marketing to kind of explain, this new service to the customers. If someone else has already gone in there and done that work for you, then you could just come in with a better, lower cost or higher quality product, and just educating the customers about the use of this product or service in the first place is something you don't even need to worry about. So that's, there's, again, these pros and cons with the first mover issue. And then, of course, the whole issue of scale. So some companies say, well, we'd like to enter on a smaller scale to minimize our risk. And so, for example, we find that some companies look at a small country in Latin America like Chile, which has only about 18 million people, and they'll say, well, if we enter that market, if we fail, at least we failed on a small scale, right? So again, that might make more sense than just coming in full bore and trying to enter every Latin American market all at the same time. So these are some of the things to consider, these three basic entry decisions. And that was what I wanted to cover first. Before now, we're going to move on to the modes of entry in part 2.